I want to talk about the business side of it, right? And I know that a lot of people is not interested in the money side all the time. They want to know how the money comes back down to the business. But I want to go straight into the business. And for an extended period of time, Microsoft has proposed to buy Activision for what? For how much? 59 or 69? I think it was 69. 69, how much? How much y'all think that they was proposing to buy Activision for? Not 69 million, 69 billion. With a B. Billion. Now, why are they then fighting the FTC, especially over in the UK, right? Well, because they don't want the competition. And again, this is why we call them monopolies, because they don't want there to be a monopoly on a certain aspect of business that then affects what their competitors can do in order to be able to compete against them, right? And so $69 billion. Let's just go ahead and round it off to 70. $70 billion. Now, how does this make sense? Why would Microsoft, for those of the people that don't understand gaming and things like that, now, why would Microsoft be at risk of a lawsuit or being blocked by the FTC of being able to buy Activision, who makes the games Call of Duty? Yes, some of y'all are in the gaming community and you understand Activision Blizzard and making Call of Duty games. Well, it's because different aspects of your business do different things that then feed into the profitability and the long-term strategy of your company. So let me break it down for you. For example, Microsoft owns Xbox. Simple enough, right? Call of Duty and Activision games are not platform specific, not platform exclusive. That means that a lot of games are available for PC, Sony, PlayStation, Xbox, so on and so forth. Because the job of the gaming house is to make as much money as possible by being able to spread their seeds and sow their seeds across all different platforms. Right? You with me so far? So, here's the key though. Some titles are exclusive to specific platforms because they're developed in-house by that particular platform. So, for example, Halo. Halo is a game that originally was exclusive only to Xbox, right? But the worry is that as Microsoft and large companies that can then depend on the profitability from other parts of their business in order to then leverage that money to buy up and then consolidate different parts of the industry, it would then create a situation that then eliminated the competition. So if you had less access to less games, you would be more incentivized to move over into a different platform versus playing on the same platform that you were playing on because the game is no longer exclusive to your platform. And so that was the fear. The fear was that Microsoft would then be able to leverage how much money that they're making in order to overcompete in industries such as gaming, and then Activision is one of the spaces that they feared. And so in order to prevent a monopoly, they tried to block it. But guess what? Microsoft won. But let's get into it. That's to give you the cliff notes. I want to break this down from a financial perspective to you guys. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.
We do have some breaking news to get to. I think Steve Kovac has that for us. Steve?
Sarah, yeah, Microsoft has actually won the case against the FTC. This was for the FTC was seeking that preliminary injunction, blocking the deal. The judge has denied that preliminary injunction, meaning Microsoft at least will likely try to go forward here in the U.S. to buy Activision for $69 billion. We have lines out to the FTC and Microsoft to talk about.
Kid Call says, I love you, big dog, but you don't know about the gaming industry or the market. How don't I? How don't I? How don't I know about the gaming? Listen, you think that white man that's sitting right there that's having a conversation about what was happening with this upcoming fight is with the FCT and Microsoft knows more about me than the gaming market? Listen, homie, I knew more about the gaming market before you was fucking born. Before you was born, I was probably playing Xbox Live. I knew about the exclusive titles. I knew about the competition. I knew about the gaming wars. We know that Microsoft has largely conceded in saying that the gaming war has already been war has already been warned as far as the market share of who was going to go to what platform. As a matter of fact, the real war was never even here in America. It was overseas. Because Sony is a Japanese company and they've largely been embraced by their demographic. I know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about as far as the industry. And if you want to debate me about this on some financial shit, we can talk about it. You think that this white man with these glasses understand the market better than me? As far as the gaming industry and the market? Listen, Sony is not even a gaming company. Sony is a camera company. The majority of the profitability that comes into Sony comes from selling their parts over into other companies such as Apple. This fucking iPhone right now, all of these lenses, these are Sony cameras inside of this iPhone, right? You think that Microsoft actually cares about the profitability of gaming? They don't. They're leveraging their cloud infrastructure in order to continue to take over a market so that they can bring you into their ecosystem. You think it's about gaming, and it's not. It's not about game. You think that Apple really gives a fuck about Apple Arcade? They don't. It's to bring you into the ecosystem so that you then purchase other products. When you go into Walmart, let me cook y'all for a minute because y'all don't really understand money. Anton, you don't understand the gaming system. Why? Because you play Fortnite all fucking day? You play Fortnite all day and you think you know. Okay, so let me give you the game. I'm going to break it down from a C student's perspective before we let the white man give it to you from a technical perspective. When you go into Walmart, you know why they got groceries? You know why they got groceries? They don't have groceries because the grocery aspect of Walmart is profitable. It's a loss leader. It's some of the slimmest margins on profitability with regard to groceries, and they don't specialize in that. And so as a result, they use it as a loss leader to get you in a store to then become a part of their ecosystem and possibly buy other things that's much more profitable. They want you over there buying bed sheets, toilet paper. They want you to buy school supplies. They want to be the one-stop shop for you, which is one of the reasons why it's so difficult for them to be able to survive in some of these markets in Chicago, is because these people are not going over there and spending money where they're supposed to while at the same time tearing up the fucking grocery store. Microsoft doesn't look at Xbox as an opportunity to really capitalize from a financial perspective because the majority of their money in which they generate comes from outside of that, right? But what they want to do is they want to get you within the ecosystem. They don't look at Sony as an opportunity to be able to compete against Sony for the players, right? When a car company, right, uses a Halo car to get you in the door, what they're hoping to do is to hope that you have brand loyalty to then become a part of the ecosystem. When you join Apple, right? When you get Apple Arcade, when you get into Apple's cloud infrastructure, people don't understand that Amazon, Microsoft, iCloud, Google, they all have different cloud strategies, right? And so when you're having this conversation and you're saying, well, why would Microsoft buy LinkedIn? Why would Microsoft buy Activision? You're not seeing the bigger picture. And this is why you can't have a conversation with motherfuckers that don't really understand money. They don't understand the huge opportunity that comes along with it. It's not about buying Activision. It's not at all. It's about buying market share to then absorb the players that is a part of a specific ecosystem in order to figure out how they can leverage other products that they're using and building in order to make more money long term. It's not about competing in gaming. It's about competing for a customer to be a part of their ecosystem. Let's continue.
What that means. But one other aspect here is this is not over, Sarah, because this CMA, the regulatory authority in the United Kingdom, is still going over this case. They're not expected to have a hearing on this until the end of the month, which is past the July 18th deadline. So still a lot of questions, Sarah, about how Microsoft can button this deal up.
We need some. All right, Steve, thank you. Steve Kovac, seeing the reaction in Activision shares up 4.3% or so. Want to get to David Faber, who's joining us on set. He's on the phone, of course, with sources. But clearly, this was a surprise.
Gaming is $1 billion industry, but it's literally just a drop in the bucket for what Microsoft produces from a profitability perspective. It's $1 billion industry, but it's a drop in the bucket. A drop in the bucket.
At least, David had been reporting that.
Hey, and then he says, I'm a developer. You must be new here, sir. You literally must be new here.
Sort of moving this way and through the courts, but you could see the relief in Activision shares there. After that UK decision, didn't look like it was going to happen.
Yep, there had been so much momentum for those who argued that this was going to be a difficult deal to pass, certainly within a certain time period. Steve Kovac gave us the basics, David. Tell us what we need to know.
Well, listen, we have said from the very outset that it was a tough case for the FTC to prove, and they did not seem to have done it in court. Certainly when you listen to the testimony of the witnesses, read the transcripts, of course. I wasn't in the court itself, but I did have a number of people who were there. The FTC, they felt, had not fully proved the case, of course, and it was a tough case for them to prove, at least with the existing law, in terms of, is this really going to prevent competition for those who own the hardware, so to speak, and will they control the games that they develop themselves and not allow them to be used on other platforms? Call of Duty, of course, being one of the key ones, and Sony being certainly the name that was mentioned most often by the government in terms of perhaps being somehow disadvantaged. It's a big loss for the FTC. It's an important victory for Microsoft. And, of course, a question that we have now continues to be the ability of this company somehow, as it goes back to the UK, where we've remained focused all along, as we've said, that has been considered the major impediment, given you've already had the competition committee, the CMA in that country, saying no to this deal. That is being appealed to a tribunal.
iPhones have Samsung parts, they have Sony parts, they have their own developed parts, they have their own chips, they have a lot of different parts from a lot of different manufacturers. Apple does business with everybody, and so does every other phone company. That's not the conversation. I see y'all in the chat, but anyways, let's continue. Here's the key. Microsoft wants to get this deal done immediately. Microsoft wants to get this done. Now that they've had the judge strike this down and where they don't have any barriers, which, again, you have to understand that we're in a global market, right? It's not just as it relates to what's happening here in the United States of America. This was struck down in the UK, which then incentivized Microsoft to hurry up and get this deal done in the United States. Now, the fight isn't over completely, but it's pretty much over. It's pretty much over, right? And so what you see happening now is that this is a key victory, which is one of the reasons why Activision stock is going up significantly, right? This is a key victory. And so as a result, Microsoft is going to try to get this deal done immediately. By next week, I believe that this deal will be done. By next week, I believe that this deal will be done. Let's continue.
But there have been these weird, and I have no other word to use, conversations, I guess, about the idea that Microsoft somehow can figure out a way to close this deal prior to the expiration of the current merger agreement, which is only a week away. How that would occur.
Which is one of the reasons why Microsoft is incentivized, and I believe that they've been working on this deal for a long time in anticipation that the judge was going to rule this way. The expiration of the original agreement of this merger is set to expire a week from now, which is one of the reasons why it's very, very much in their best interest to get this deal done. In both Activision's shareholders' best interest and Microsoft's best interest to be able to get this deal done as soon as possible. And so when you're paying attention to these things, it's so many nuances and so much context, timelines, and different things that's going on. You can't just say, oh, well, they're looking to buy Activision. Well, what is the date of the expiration of the original agreement, and how does that tie in to when the judge ruled, right? Let's continue.
Occur is very much unclear to me. It's something, obviously, you got to make more calls on. Now that we have clarity on the FTC losing this case, it will put a lot more focus on that CMA process, Carl. And the hearing that is supposed to take place, where they are going to try to argue the procedures that the CMA followed were faulty, which would have the effect, if they actually got agreement from the tribunal, of sending it back to the CMA.
It's remarkable, especially when we know that the initial window for close was, we thought, long at the time. Little did we know how much time they would need to get this thing over the finish line. The other thing is avenues for appeal on the part of the FTC.
Yeah.
Still exist?
They do. It seems hard to imagine. Again, I haven't read the opinion. So, we rushed on here, obviously, with this news that they would not grant the injunction to stop the deal. But I want to read the opinion. I want to get a lot of people's who are even more studied in this stuff than I am to sort of weigh in. But, I think that's not expected, and that's not going to stop Microsoft from closing the deal, because, of course, they can. If, in fact, they do figure out a way to deal somehow with the UK, or perhaps, again, then they won't close around the CMA, so they're going to have to extend their merger agreement, which, of course, requires a renegotiation with Activision, which is going to argue that it deserves more money because its business is in a better place than it was when this deal was announced back in December of 21. That remains a key question as well. So any number of moving parts, including, of course, what continues to be the opposition of the UK and the ability of Microsoft to how they navigate that.
I wonder if it has bigger ramifications, too, beyond Activision and Microsoft, the FTC. Now, for a lot of companies want to challenge them now, right?
We've talked about this a lot on our first hour, Sarah, with Jim. There is no doubt that this is a blow for the FTC, which has been a very aggressive agency in trying to not just stop certain deals, but also chill the overall market as a result of taking on deals that were really not thought to pose a true anti-competitive threat, at least is the way that we've interpreted antitrust law for a very long time, namely starting with consumer harm. And so this will be a key question.
Horizon.
Horizon, Amgen, and this one, of course, being two of the key ones, the largest ones that we think of. We'll still see about Pfizer, Seagen, which may well get a second request, even though they refiled. This will definitely be a blow for them. There's no way around it for Lina Khan, for the FTC. Does it mean that it really will embolden a lot of companies that have been thinking about doing deals but have been halted in part because of the concern about antitrust? Well, maybe, but maybe not, because the fact is time is also the key thing you look at, not just whether you will ultimately win in court, but whether you're willing to go as long as it would take to get to that point.
So, I'm gonna bring up an article for you guys really quickly. Give me a second. I'm waiting for. I dropped the link for somebody just in case he wanted to come up.
Oh, wow, remarkable.
Give me a second.
Bit of news.
So I want to share this with you guys really quickly. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull it up. 1 second. Just getting things. I'm gonna be reading super chats shortly. Oh, if you want to come up, you're more than welcome to do so. But this is not new news, but I will share it just for you guys in order to substantiate my argument. Because this is something that I've been paying attention to for a while now. So this is a Fortune article back from May 5th, 2023, right? This is a Microsoft executive, and quote, he said, "We lost the worst generation to lose. The console wars is over," right? He goes on to say, oh, shoot. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Give me a second. Let me see if I can pull it up. 1 second. I'm not a subscriber to Fortune magazine, so you got to give me a second to be able to pull this up. One moment. I don't see the kid camming up, but it's okay. This is the article, right? It said Microsoft conceded defeat in the high-stakes video game console wars for the first time, admitting on Thursday, and again, this is back in May, that it will never, ever be able to catch up to Sony and Nintendo. All right? It goes on to say a chastened and downbeat Phil Spencer issued what appeared to be a brutally honest 40-minute mea culpa in which he even implied his job was on the line after a series of self-inflicted blunders. In the interview with an Xbox community YouTube channel published on Thursday, he said that it was an illusion to think that exclusives like the hotly anticipated Starfield would cause Sony players to switch allegiances. That's because 90% of the gamers are already committed to their existing consoles, according to Spencer. This is largely understood within the industry. The strategy is completely different. Even the executives at Microsoft has already admitted, which is one of the reasons I tell y'all need to understand what you're investing in and don't just buy these companies based off of people that think that they know gaming. It always comes back to the money. And so Microsoft and even Sony has already understood that whoever it was that picked their sides, usually when you see somebody that roll with an iPhone, they never switch over to an Android. Usually when you see somebody with an Android, it's very, very difficult to get them to switch over into an iPhone, right? And brand loyalty when it comes to gaming is even more fierce. That's not the strategy that Microsoft is implementing when it comes to buying Activision at all. Okay? Let's continue. It says it's just not true that if we go off and build great games, let me blow that up for you. All of a sudden, you're going to see a console share shift in a dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in Xbox One. Spencer also poured cold water on the hopes that the now defunct console's replacement, the current Xbox Series X, would chip away at the sales of the Sony PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch. He says, I know that that will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth no matter whether you're in third place in the console market or the top two players as strong as they are. When it entered the market in 2001 with the original Xbox, a lot of gamers expected that the deep pockets of Microsoft would help it crush gaming rival Sony and its PlayStation 2. But while Microsoft came close to eclipsing Sony with its second generation Xbox 360, it never succeeded in dethroning the Japanese competitor globally. Spencer is now pushing Microsoft to not focus on hardware, but software. For example, its monthly subscription service Game Pass. He is also bullish on new features to allow customers to buy one game and play it seamlessly across a variety of devices, from the Xbox to the PC to new handheld devices like the Steam Deck, outside of the Sony What? Wait a minute. What did that say? Outside of the Sony ecosystem? So you're telling me that their strategy is to pivot from trying to gain market share with regard to console wars to actually add you into the ecosystem? What? No. Not an actual executive over there saying that word for word. Not him using the exact same words that I just communicated to you a little while ago. He said this months ago. Interesting. No way. He didn't say that. He did not say that. That got to be a typo. Anyways, neither here nor there. I don't want to beat a dead horse. It's important. And again, I had dropped the link in the chat for him to be able to cam up, but all of a sudden they're not able to cam up. Don't worry about it. Anyways, my point that I'm trying to make to you guys is that whenever you're trying to understand whether or not you want to invest in a company, you got to understand every aspect of that company. And I don't want y'all to just look at what somebody says online and say, oh man, I'm about to go invest in Microsoft. Or they say, go buy Microsoft. Or Microsoft is a $2-3 trillion company. Don't do it. You have to understand every single aspect of that company and how they make money and what their long-term strategy is, right? again, how Microsoft is leveraging their cloud infrastructure is going to be completely different than what Apple is doing versus what Amazon is doing, right? And so when you're having these conversations, you have to have them in full. It's not enough to just be a gamer. You also have to understand money. You have to understand a lot of different things, right? And you have to be informed as what's being communicated instead of just what you believe, because what you believe is just your truth. It's not the truth. All right?